You're listening to the Whole Church Podcast, a proud member of the Anazal Podcast Network. Our efforts to educate and unite the church are made possible thanks to our sponsors on Patreon, Captivate, and Apple Podcast. You could join them on one of those networks, or you can support the show by making a one-time tip on our Captivate website down below in the show's description. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 12 through 22. Now we ask you, brothers and sisters, to give recognition to those who labor among you and lead you in the Lord and admonish you, and to regard them very highly in love because of their work. But be at peace among yourself. And we exhort you, brothers and sisters, warn those who are idle, comfort the discouraged, help the weak, be patient with everyone. See to it that no one repays evil for evil to anyone, but always pursue what is good for one another and for all. Rejoice always. Pray constantly. Give thanks in everything, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Don't stifle the Spirit. Don't despise prophecies, but test all things. Hold on to what is good. Stay away from every kind of evil. Pastor Will Rose, we are in a really tumultuous, a time where this stuff seems impossible. Pursue peace, rebuke evil, admonish one another. We kind of just want to tear each other down right now, it seems like. So what are these words in 1 Thessalonians? I didn't study that much beforehand. I didn't get that prep time. So I'm not sure what the context is here. But what do those words speak to you when you hear them right now?
Well, I definitely hear St. Paul trying to shepherd a church or a community or a local parish that are gathering around this story of Jesus. And so he's trying to encourage them and then warn them and then guide them in a certain direction. And as I look at that list just on its own, that's a hard list to follow. Every single one of those. I'm just going to God, Paul, that's a hard list. But things that stick out for me, like the phrase, be patient with everyone and don't stifle the Spirit. I think in that list of be patient with everyone, guess who's included in the everyone? Even me. So I'm going to try to be patient with myself as well as I try to, this particular list that he gives to try to fulfill or to treat others with kindness in this hard time, even in time of disagreement and tension, particularly in our nation. So I'm going to be patient with everyone, including myself, and then I'll do my best not to stifle the Spirit, where I sense and feel and see the Spirit at work in and around and through me and others.
Yeah. I'm going to break format here and ruin the episode, but the whole episode's going to be weird, guys, so just hang in there. We are recording Election Day before we know what the results are. And I'm hearing this list, and it's funny because even talking ahead of time, we were talking about somebody that we're struggling with, and I'm like, ooh, adorn him. Like, what's the greatest thing I could say about him online right now? And I'm like, man, that's hard. Be patient with everyone. Yeah, that's hard. Like right now, I'm like, that's difficult. I fear for what's going to happen. So I don't know. Some of these words to me, even just then, I was looking for. I'll be transparent. I was looking for the section of verses that I knew it said pray constantly, and then I just read this all out. And as I was reading it, I was like, man, well, there's my challenge.
Yeah.
Man. All right. Sorry.
Love it. Good words, man. Good words.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to part of a Whole Church Podcast episode. We're going to be doing a little partial episode here. Everything's been thrown out of whack. I am your co-host, Joshua Noel. I am not here with the co-host, with the co-most, Tiberius Juan Blackwell. He had work issues. We are recording on Election Day, and everything's just out of wonk and weird and strange. I also have had some family emergency stuff that Will and other Josh talked about last time a little bit. They mentioned it, and we're going to get into it a little bit today, just kind of being transparent with everybody, letting them guys know what's going on. We're going to catch you up on what's going on with the episode schedule and all those kind of things. So this is basically just a longer God moment, and that's all you're getting today.
Yeah. Longer God moment. We all need God moments in these particular days.
Yeah. And I'm here with Pastor Will Rose, who's going to walk with me as I go through some of what I've been going through, talk about some of the stuff we got to do together recently at a theology beer camp 2024. We had a great time there before some of this other stuff happened, and also maybe prepare us a little bit for the election. I'm not sure what order we're going to go in with all that, but that's the stuff, like, subscribe, go to the store. We have really comfy t-shirts. Well, right now, hoodies maybe. There's a hoodie on there. Now it's hoodie weather. Get a whole church hoodie. Yeah. And then after that, we do a silly question, but instead, Pastor Will, I'm gonna say, could you share with us maybe a silly story, maybe something that we'll laugh about later? Do you have anything that maybe would fit that description we could do?
Yeah. Wow. What would be something we could laugh about this later about? I will say that I went to a cool haunted house over right before Halloween with my wife and my worship director at church. My worship director used to live in Florida and go to Halloween Horror Nights all the time. And she's a big, she loves Halloween and haunted houses. And so we went to one out in Snow Camp, North Carolina, way out in the middle of nowhere. I literally thought I was going to show up at this house and maybe it was a real haunted house and I was going to get murdered. But eventually when we got there was a line. It was festive. A former kind of Hollywood makeup artist put on this haunted house. And it was a lot of fun. And I will say the funny part, we'll laugh about this later, as I went through this 20-minute, 30-minute walk through this haunted house maze kind of thing. Parts were a little creepy. Some parts weren't. Some parts were funny. They try to make it all ages. But by the time we got to the end, there was a time where we walked through like a makeshift graveyard. And all of a sudden behind me, I noticed I'm being followed by Jason. Yeah, hockey mask wearing, machete in his hand, just slowly walking behind me. And it wigged me out so hard. I guess I was just in the mindset, and I've watched so many of those movies that I was like, I'm really freaked out right now. And so I literally grabbed, I was playing caboose. I was behind everybody. Cindy was up front. I grabbed Megan, our worship director, and said, nope, you're and now I'm in the middle. Please protect me. And I kept watching. She thought that was really funny. So I threw her to Jason and said, nope, I'm not doing this anymore, and kept walking. So yeah, there you go. I chickened out and let somebody else take the fall for me.
Oh man. I feel like I have a lot of recent laugh about this later stories we could do, especially with Theology Beer Camp. We had some big stuff. There was me, my pastor, some great theologians all working together on a common mission to try to figure out how to get a crate of beer into the church. Yeah, that happened. But I think for me, the sillier one to me when I think about it is, for those who know who Leah Robinson is, it's, one of those people that you're like, I would love to talk about them with anything. And they're like, she's so smart, right? It's like, I could sit down, just want to learn, sit at her feet. But the last night at Theology Beer Camp, there's been drinking involved and stuff. So we're not drunk, but I'm not like fully aware of my situation. And I realized that yeah. Well, I realized I had spent up until like 2 or 3 in the morning. Leah Robinson, she's like some people's like professor in some context. And I'm like, you're drinking, talking about like Star Wars sequels and the merits of Rey as a character. And I'm like, man, there were so many more important things I could have talked to Leah Robinson about. But here we are talking about Rey.
Star Wars. I'm so proud. I had
so 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah, and I had to fly out earlier that next morning, so I had to go to bed somewhat earlier before you guys. So I bailed. So I missed that conversation. Now that I'm having FOMO that you guys were talking Star Wars together, and I was not up and just pulled an all-nighter and do that.
Well, I gotta let you know, she invited herself onto Systematic Geekology, our other podcast, to talk more. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, we'll do that. We will definitely do that.
We will make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that said,
maybe we could get her to talk about like the new Skeleton Crew Star Wars series. Because she's got kids, she's got a husband that she watches all that stuff. That would be good to bring her on. Give her take. There you go. All right.
Well, now guys, we're near the end of the episode, and before we do wrap up, we do our God moment episode.
God moment.
This is just going to be a God moment. That's all we're going to do. And I've compartmentalized. I have a bunch of them like piled together. So I have stuff around Theology Beer Cup, stuff around this election season, and stuff that I've shared and it's been going on online, and challenging conversations and uplifting conversations I've had with people. And then there was also be careful how I'm wording this just because of legal stuff and other things. There was a shooting where my dog and wife kind of got caught in the crossfire, and my dog got shot through his face, and one bullet grazed my wife's arm. She's okay. The dog's going to make it. I don't know if okay is the right word yet, but he's getting to be okay. So there's a lot around the feelings and emotions of that moment when I got that phone call all the way through till now that I'm still dealing with, and that's why episodes are going to crazy. But I don't know if we want to start there. If we want to start with some of the lighter stuff, or what do you think as my pastor? What do you think is the best way to do this episode?
Yeah, you can share. I think let's talk about that. We can. I have some God emotional things I'm reflecting about the election, even though we haven't had results yet by recording. But when this comes out, it will. We can go those two routes, but I do think like you led into it. Why don't you share a little bit in terms of, there's a reason you've had this, we were hanging out together, Theology Beer Camp, mountaintop experience, God moment experience with like hanging
literal
out with
mountaintops too.
And our friends, literal mountaintops, because we were in Denver. We went to the biggest comic book store in the world or in the United States. We went to famous restaurants and we had beer with friends and got to hang out with some podcasters we really look up to in the game, in the business, and had some conversation with them where they share with us. They enjoyed our conversation with us and looked up to us as good podcasters. So that meant a lot to us. And then you came off the mountain, or while you're still on the mountain, about to come home, had this tragedy happen, and you were grounded and really fast on like the danger of the situation, but also the gratefulness of the situation, but also know that you have to make some changes in your family and kind of where you are and where you go and jobs, all those things. It was a kind of, apocalyptic in a sense. It was revealing to you. It revealed to you some things in your guys' life. So I know you've been through a lot, and that's kind of why some of the podcasts haven't been on schedule, whatever, or perfect outlines, and that's fine. That's okay. But just to let the listeners and fans know, you did a GoFundMe. We tried to support you in prayer and financially, and I'm sure that's a blessing to see people rally around you and those things. But to where you are now, you're still. It's okay to feel. It's okay to have a bunch of feelings hang out in the same room together. One, like scary, PTSD, worry, but also gratitude, also love, and intentionality. All those things can hang out in the same room together. Just as in any stage of grief, there more than one can show up. So I'm sure that's where you are. But where are you now? Share a few minutes of where you are now in this moment and where you see yourself moving forward.
Yeah, I'll do like a state of the address of my spirit.
The union.
Yeah.
Union of the spirit.
Yeah. No, it's interesting right now. Just it's odd. I feel sad a lot of the time, almost like I lost something, but we didn't technically lose anything, I guess. Although our lives are going to have to completely change because of the event that happened. It's it's challenging in that way. One of the things that's interesting is I did have a few minutes early on where I was really genuinely pissed off because like who the heck shoots a dog? Like I was just so mad. But those moments were fewer between. They're fleeting. Like when I look back on like who I was 10, 20 years ago, it's like, oh, okay, I've grown a lot. I don't have this like, oh, I want to go seek them out and try to kill them kind of, mindset. It's like I still see that spiritual growth and I still see a need to continue growing. But at the same time, I think I do have a right to be a little bit angry. A little bit pissed off is probably okay. It's probably a good thing to be. And even struggling with a lot, some guilt. I wasn't physically here when it happened because, like you mentioned, I was still in the airport trying to leave Denver. So dealing with all that and thankful that the company I work for does provide emergency mental health care. So I am able to kind of work through some of this if I don't miss my appointments, which, ADHD. I got to take my medicine and set alarms and do things well, so I don't do that again because I did miss an appointment. Yeah. But as far as like actual moments, what's interesting is like when you were walking through that, it's just how interconnected all this stuff is. Like I said, I kind of compartmentalized, but like really, I can like point to. I'm gonna be a little blunt with some of this. I could see where when I think like the political stuff. Well, it's so interesting to me that a lot of people and I'm not trying to call anybody out or like down anyone, but my previous church, different people that I grew up with, that organization, a lot of people who are reaching out because they're concerned that I don't like Donald Trump enough, or, like they're concerned about how I'm voting and this kind of stuff. And then I might get oh, by the way, I heard about your dog and that's sad. Whereas the church I'm a part of now online, you're able to see on the GoFundMe, even when it's anonymous, we're able to see who donates. And I'm like able to look and I'm like, time and time again, it's people from the church I either attend here in Rock Hill or that I'm actually a member of with Will, or people who are connected in that kind of circle. And I'm like, to me, it's become really clear which Christians actually care and want to love and which ones are, well, you're not on our team and it's more about tribalism, And I'm
Wow.
not saying everybody's that way on either side. It's just one of those. I could see that connective tissue between the politics and what's going on here. And then I also see, like, when I was getting ready for Theology Beer Camp, I did a crazy ADHD hyper-focused study on Paul Tillich, and I go through like 2 different books. I like understand this whole grounded being idea. And then it helped a lot in the thing, and I learned so much theology. And then when this kind of thing actually happened, you're like, I actually don't love the idea that these 2 individuals have some kind of grounded being in God. Like in the moment, I'm like, I kind of hate that idea right now. And that doesn't make it true or not true. It's just one of those.
Yeah.
That's where this stuff kind of meets the road. It gets challenging, and there's a lot of connective tissue there. But I rambled a little bit. Will, say something.
No, that makes complete sense. I think, again, like if the drinking game is that when Joshua says Kingdom Hearts, I have to drink. If I say entangled or entanglement, he has to drink too, because I see that word a lot. But they are entwined and entangled with each other. Those emotions, those feelings, the situations, they're not separate. They're in each other's gravitational pull and orbits. And I think to acknowledge that and be patient with that, and to kind of hang out with them for a little while and know that they're going to hang out with you for a while is and to get to know them and why they're there in the first place is really smart and prudent. And what any counselor or pastoral care person, in a healthy way would say, that all those feelings are legit, but they're all intertwined. And yeah, we can get heady with our theology and theories and doctrine, but yeah, it's events like that will ground you and go like, well, does it really matter? Does it matter that we think through these things that detailed, or is it just like, I'm just trying to care for my loved one and don't want my dog to be hurt, and I don't want a stray bullet to, snuff out somebody's life super fast that had no part in your whatever conflict. Yeah, the random act of violence and the fragility of life is scary, and will force you to reflect on your finitude in deeper ways, and so. All that's legit. It's not rambling. I think it's all together, and I think it was well said.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot more to it. I'd like to do like a lightning round of God moments here in a little bit, but I want to hear from you too. Obviously my thing's challenging, and we do want to promote the GoFundMe. I'll probably put that in the show's description because we still have a lot of funds. Copper, our dog's going to have another CT scan, and those cost a lot of money. So yeah. But Will, what's kind of the state of union for you? You pastor a parish church here in Chapel Hill at the foot of the college. This is the day of election. We don't know what's going to happen yet. Where are you pastorally, spiritually, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I will say the last couple of weeks and then leading up today, pretty anxious, and the tension's high. There's those under my roof, we're all on the same page, but there's definitely family members and friends who aren't in terms of this election. And I think there's a lot of things at stake. And I know there's like issues when it comes down to, policies around economics and women's health and abortion and immigration. But I think with these particular candidates, it's just hard for me to not, if there's any other 2 candidates, I would go into details of policy, but I think personalities and the personhood of what Donald Trump represents in terms of character and what he's pushing and represents and gives permission for people to be, I think is horrendous, and I'll share that out there with folks. And we may disagree politically. I'll be happy to talk with anybody privately, face to face, the history of how I've been registered as a voter with political parties and where I am now. I'm a registered independent now, but I'm a single issue voter, and that is like the single issue is Trump. And so I've never been so nervous and scared for my country, the soul of my country, in any election than this one. So yeah, I'm saying. So I've had my fight and flight within me wrestling with each other. And in the past week or so, I've been a lot of flight. Like, I just want to get out of here. I want it to go away. I don't want to do this. I would rather, I'm going to move to Portugal and surf and eat good food and drink wine or whatever. But last night and today, my fight mode is like, no, I'm going to fight for my country, fight for the soul of my country. And we're doing a prayer service for our congregation tomorrow evening. And we planned this before we knew any results of any election. And we just said, regardless of who wins the election, we may not even know by tomorrow night, but whoever, regardless of who wins, we're going to gather for prayer and be together. There's some prayers in our hymnal for the nation and for civic duties and for our elected officials and our loved ones and our neighbors. And we're going to pray those because they're nonpartisan prayers, I feel. So we're going to pray that together. And I'm going to share with the congregation, look, I'm not going to assume that everybody in this room voted the same way. But I will assume that everyone gathered here cares for our community of faith and that we share the same vision of our core values of worship, outreach, Lutheran campus ministry, and faith formation. I will assume that we all care about our community of faith. And so if to be honest, I feel like we've been doing great ministry over the last year over COVID tide, and specifically in the last few months. We've been doing great ministry, and our Sunday's been vibrant, and we're doing great stuff with campus ministry. We had a baptism a few weeks ago. Like, we're doing great stuff, and we're going to keep doing great stuff. Regardless of who's elected, we're going to keep doing the ministry that we're entrusted with. And so regardless of who wins, Trump being elected, to be honest, is going to make my life harder, and my posture as a Christian in the world harder, I believe. But then I'll just do ministry and love harder. That's where my kind of fight or flight mode is right now. I'm fighting not in like I'm gonna take up weapons, but I'm gonna love harder. The weapons of the Spirit I'm gonna take up, and that's how I'm gonna love and do ministry harder than I have been. And so that's where I am right now. We'll see what happens this evening in the coming weeks, but and I'm gonna keep shepherding this community that I've been entrusted with. That's where I am.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just say with that, like, I can point to, if we made like a spreadsheet, there's probably biblical stuff that both sides are doing right and doing wrong. You know, if we're just looking at like finances or immigration, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. What's interesting though is when I read the Bible, and I try not to share this often because I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself. I read the Bible 13 times a year. I don't see a place where God's punishing people because of their wrong policies. Oh, you didn't do the right economics. But he often punishes countries for their leaders and the character of their leader. So I think it's good to be a single issue voter when Donald Trump is on the ballot right now, you know. And that's not to say, you know, I still think of myself as more old school Republican than anything else, but I don't know if that kind of Republican still exists. So that's where I'm at. So there's a little bit of fear. So I guess that's a good moment.
For people who are listening who feel differently, vote differently, if we piss you off with this, I certainly understand it's high, but you know, I really do like, I put a Facebook post out there of some things of what I carried with me into the voter booth and carried out. And I invited people to DM me and meet me face to face. And there was a pastor in South Carolina who DM'd me and shared some thoughts and some different feelings towards things. And we were able to have like a decent conversation through direct message and go back and forth and say, well, maybe we'll sit down and have a beer or coffee one day and talk about it. I think that's healthy, but yeah, we'll see. I understand. I understand where people are passionate about these things.
Oh yeah. I got one I'd like to share. Are you okay doing like a lightning round God moment and then wrapping this up?
Yeah.
Just like three or four other things each. One for me, and I shared this on our Facebook group. I made a post that I was like, here's all the reasons you should not vote for Donald Trump kind of deal. And I had a lot of visceral people, you know, attacking me and different stuff on there. And one person actually genuinely asked for, well, what's the other side of this? I don't have those sources because I'm like, I don't care for the other side right now. But I knew a guy had been on a podcast before, Chris Galloway did. I was like, tagged him. I was like, hey, do you have anything for her? Because I don't agree with this, but if she wants sources, I believe in providing sources for people. Sure. He provided something that I don't care for. But he provided it at my request. So I thanked him for participating me in that. And we were both able to say, yeah, but the kingdom of Jesus is more important. And kind of meet on that level. And I was like, hey, that's what it's all about. Like the church unity. We can disagree and still make this church thing happen. So it'd be one, you know, another one I did have actually message me and attack me verbally. Well, I say attack. He doesn't want to call it an attack, but it was an attack. About that same post, you know, he's concerned with my soul and you are supporting evil kind of stuff. And I'm like, you're supporting someone who raped somebody, you know, like I'm like, for me, it doesn't make sense. And that was really challenging. And then also, you know, with the shooting, one of the things that stands out to me is just how, I'm still pissed off because in my mind, you know, I'm going back to like the Tom Sawyer stuff. I'm like, couldn't God have kept this from happening at all? But at the same time, if it had been an inch to the left, my dog would be dead. My wife might be dead or more injured. You know, a bullet went through the hood of the car, but missed the engine. There was bullets all around, you know, different parts that things could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
And it just, so yeah, I'm angry and I'm challenged that why did God let it happen at all? But also still have a little bit of thankfulness of, man, yeah, could have been worse, right?
Yep.
And I'll do one for Theology Beer Camp specific, and then I'll finish my lightning round. We could do a lot more because it's been so long, but there was a moment that I actually didn't go to the geek stage, didn't go to any other stage. I actually went to the soul space because I was like, I'm kind of curious. And we did like a body meditation where you had to like feel different parts of your body and like reach out to other people and kind of just learn to meditate both in God and in your surroundings and in yourself. And you guys know with my accent, a lot of metal. So I experienced a lot of pain when I think about literally what's happening with my body. Like I feel that pain. And then as I went to expand my meditation, try to feel those around me, that pain kind of left as I was focusing more on those around me. And I don't know exactly what that means, but spiritually that did something in me that I'm still holding on to that I haven't really had to process because I'm processing so much other stuff, but it's there.
Yeah, that's neat. I mean, I think Theology Beer Camp, it gets really nerdy with the with the theology and philosophy and the academic part of theology, because that's one of the things that Tripp loves. But we shared last night in kind of a recap thing that it's kind of the homebrew Christianity cinematic universe that gathers all in the same thing. So we all come together. So you have the theology and philosophy and the TED Talks kind of thing, but you also have Geek Stage. We also have spiritual practice. They've tried to do more about, whether it's just stretching and being aware in your breath, but also praying and meditation and reflecting on God and God moments. That's the spiritual practice of it. And I think there's a both and when it comes to that too. Theology is important, articulating healthy theology is important, but then also spiritual practice, what you practice and what you embody in the world is important too. So yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, I'll share the kind of that. Again, like Theology Beer Camp was super fun. I love the Geek Stage. I love hanging out. But some of these people that I listen, they have a lot of hours in my earbuds that I've listened to, but to also hang out with them and have a beer and sit around or at a meal and have a conversation and respect one another, what each other do is pretty, or even having ask you questions or advice on things is that mutuality was a big God moment and blessing.
That moment with Dan Koch. That was good.
Yeah, that was so fun. And then, hanging out with you and getting to know you a little bit better and how your mind works, and whether it's Meow Wolf, that your mind is Meow Wolf.
That place was wild.
And that was super great. And then this weekend, got North Carolina Comic-Con. By the time you're hearing this, it's probably over, but some of the people from Systematic Ecology are going to come and we're going to do a panel together. So while things are, I'm worried about the outcome of certain things, there's also some things to look forward to when it comes to some events and Thanksgiving and Christmas and trips and my daughter's graduation from college and next steps and all those things, things to look forward to and to nurture and be proud of and be thankful for as well, even though life often will be difficult and hard.
Yeah. I think that's a good word. Good one to start to wrap this up on. Again, we could have kept going. There's so much stuff. No practical action this week. Just, I was going to say vote. Voting's over. So pray. Just pray for the country, for yourselves, and look for God in all the moments around you. Yeah, look up to your family members. And while you're doing it, shoot a text to your cousin. Ask them to share the show, like it, and subscribe, all that stuff. And text some of your other family members too while you're at it. Just share the show around. We appreciate it. And we need all your support right now, spiritually and otherwise. And, I'm trying to remember all the things that TJ says, Discord, get merch, that kind of stuff.
Share with a friend, enemy, or cousin.
Yeah. Next week, we will be doing a roundtable discussion on how to deal with annoying Christians. Not Christians who necessarily disagree with you theologically, but those who are just like kind of obnoxious,
It could be me. You could be thinking of me.
Who knows? I don't think so. After that, I'm trying to remember some of the other. We got a few different things coming up. We got Andrew Croft from World Watch Weekly coming back. We'll be talking with James McGrath soon about John the Baptist and some different views around what his historical status. I don't know. Words. Yeah, words are hard, guys. Also, at the end of season 1, Francis Chan might be joining us. That's the plan. He doesn't know about it until you tell him. So, tell him, please. I like how last week you were like, share the faith, share the geek. So, guys, also remember, this is we're all geeked on the priest. I don't know. Yeah, but be looking for Francis Chan. I don't know. Thank you for listening to the Whole Church Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, you can always sponsor our efforts to educate and unite the church on Captivate, Patreon, or Apple Podcast. If you're not into the subscription thing, again, you can leave a one-time tip on our Captivate website down below in the description notes. Thank you again, and please come back next week.